Today, I am going to attempt to turn the entire way you think about this market on its head. And we're going to talk about the repricing to the upside across the hobby. And I chose those words very carefully because I didn't say things are overvalued. I didn't say things are going to the moon. I didn't say things are overhyped. Any of those terms. I said simply repricing to the upside, which is what a lot of the market is doing right now. And that comes as a shock to hear to some of you because you want to hear all of the, bombastic terms that gets everyone riled up. But the truth is, a lot of these things are just being priced correctly for a healthy market. Look, I know people have been in the hobby for, 6 months, a year plus. You have price memory of what things cost back then. It doesn't mean that those are legitimate prices to compare to today. And what I mean is, I could argue that was a very unhealthy market back then. Now, you could argue right now is an unhealthy market because we still haven't got the supply-demand curve, all fixed yet, right? Back then, there was too much supply for not enough demand. Now there's a little too much demand for not enough supply. So we're still trying to find that equilibrium. But I could argue just as much that back then, booster boxes should never have cost $85, $90, $95, right? Just like people are trying to argue now, booster boxes shouldn't cost $140, $150, $160 at release. In the same way, ETBs, right? Prismatic evolutions, everyone's thinking, I'm not going to be able to get it at a good price. What is a good price? You are fooling yourselves into thinking this fictional good price exists. Guys, when you could buy ETBs a year ago for $35 and $40, that is not a healthy market. The truth is, those should never have cost that low. The problem was there wasn't enough demand for the amount of supply. Now we're getting to the point where there is enough demand and you're seeing what those things should have always cost. Yes, prismatic evolutions most likely will not be at those prices. It will most likely be released at $50 to $60. Now, at the same time, those are not overpriced. Stop convincing yourself that just because something is more expensive today than yesterday, it somehow means it's overpriced. That is the normal market price and what it's going to be for new sets. Booster boxes are going to be somewhere between $110 to $130, and that is going to be a normal, healthy market price. In my opinion, anything lower than that is unhealthy. Do you guys just want stores to never make money and everyone to go out of business? Because that's what would happen if Pokemon printed so much that booster boxes and ETBs were all just trashed down to $30 an ETB and $90 a booster box. It doesn't work. Now, I understand too, the people who say 140, 150, 160 is too much at release. Surging Spark is really hyped. I think other sets will probably fall between the 110 to 130 mark, and I do think that is a good deal. I don't think you should have to worry about buying in at those prices. The whole investing thing, right? The buy low, sell high thing, right? It's thrown around so much. Here's the issue. What's low? What is low? Was $550 a case for Surging Sparks low? Obviously. What about $600? A lot of people would have told you that's not low. What about $660? A huge slew of people would have told you that is no longer low. You already missed out. Leave it. And now we see the cases going for almost $900. In my opinion, when I look back at that graph, I think anywhere between $550 and $660 is all low. If you'd have bought anywhere in there, I think it's low. And that's the difference in just mindset. The price is irrelevant. You just have to change your mindset. Because you could look at a stock in the stock market and you could say, well, I could have bought a $10 a share, $12 a share, $15 a share, $17 a share. And at the time, people at 17 will be saying, oh, it's already overpriced. It's already risen 70%. I can't buy that. And then, a year later, it's going for $100 a share. And then you look back hindsight and everyone's saying, wow, anywhere between 10 and 17, that was its lows. That was at its low. But no one talks about those things. Right? Everyone wants to wait till things are crashing and things are quote unquote at their lows, which no one really actually hits their lows. Maybe there's one person for every item and every stock and everything that actually gets it. It's a different person each time. So it's like winning the lottery. It's like getting struck by lightning, picking that exact right bottom. But here's the problem with trying to buy at the lows. First of all, you're going to be chasing things down if you're trying to buy when things are going down. Usually they're hitting their lows and they're going down because they're losing demand. So they're usually going to sit there for an extended period of time where your money's going to be dead. And sometimes the smart thing to do is actually buying into this strength. I'm doing it. I talk about it here. I just got these in recently. Still buying them. Here, little order I got. Lugia, Charizard, Glaceon, another Lugia, still buying them. Alex, some of those have risen in price lately. Yep, still buying them. Well, you're supposed to buy at the lows. Why are you buying into the momentum, into the strength? I think they're so low. I don't care if someone got them lower a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago. I think they're still low. I don't care if I buy the card at 110, 120, 130, 140. I think all of that's low. And that's the different mindset when it comes to investors who look for value instead of people who are just looking at price points and worried about what their neighbor got compared to what they got. People in this hobby are so freaking worried about who got a better deal than they got, right? They're placing pre-orders, then they get on a Discord and someone tells them, well, I ordered it here for cheaper. And they're like, oh, really? I'm gonna go cancel that pre-order. I'm gonna go order here then. And they're like jumping all around and scrolling over 1,000 sites trying to find $1 cheaper per box. And it's madness, guys. And those are the same people who every time things go up and they hear someone selling, oh, you're selling? Well, I gotta sell too. I gotta go realize my profits too. I don't want to get behind Jim. And it's just like, dude, have an original thought. Make a long-term play based on the value that you see in the item, not just this weird like day trading mentality of the market on the ups and downs and the swings. Because you're never going to get anywhere doing that. And buying into things that are already having strength and demand and momentum, you can actually outperform the people who are constantly waiting for things to crash and hit their bottoms, and then they're going to stay there for an extended period of time, and that whole time all that's going on, you're just continuing to ride the wave up. Now, I'm not saying things go forever. I'm not saying there isn't a time where not to buy the cards when they have topped out, as some would think, right? But let's take like the Bubble Mew, for example, right? It was like, what, $70, $80 card, months ago? And then it ran up to about $100. Well, a lot of people would say, Alex, that's overpriced. It's up, 30% or so. 30, 40%. It's overpriced. I'm not buying Bubble Mew at $100. I'm going to wait for it to come back down. I'm going to wait, right? The famous last words of the Timmy. And then it runs to $160. Now, do you realistically think that is going to come back down over 50% and hit $70 again? Get real. Let's get real. And then you look back and say, wow, $70, $80, $90, $100, those were all kind of at the lows. Those were all the old lows. And there's a good chance if Mew does fall, it might actually fall and settle at a higher low above all those numbers. And you'd still be in the green. Or if you bought multiple, you could actually take some profits up there now. You could realize some gains, get your cost basis even lower to where you have near a 0% risk at this point. But people never think about that. They never look at that side of things. They just see something going up and their brain immediately clicks off and go, oh, I missed that play. All right, missed that one. Where's the next one at? Where's the next play? Right? And then they look like at these weird things to make plays on. Alex, there's this card. It's like the 20th hit in the set, but it's still low. I saw Evolving Skies and the top 10 alt arts, they're all moving, but the Metacham, it hasn't moved yet. So I put a bunch of money into that. Okay, there's a good chance that just won't move. Well, why not? All the other ones are moving. Why didn't you just buy some of those then? Because I didn't want to buy in too high. And this is a stupid trick our brain plays. It's like we'll look for anything and everything that hasn't moved to think that we're going to get ahead of it, instead of just going after the things that everybody freaking wants. Surging Sparks, perfect example, right? Prismatic Evolutions, the Eevee set, perfect example. If you're afraid to buy those just because you didn't get as good of a deal as your neighbor, you're missing out. And you're going to continue to miss out time and time and time again, right? The alt arts right now, I told you, I'm still buying them. I literally make videos telling people what I'm doing. And then the future will come and things will happen and they'll say, man, I wish I would have bought those like Alex did. I made a video telling you I was doing it. You could have done it, right? At the same prices that I'm buying in at. I don't have this treasure trove of shopping, malls where I can just go in and get all these super cheap prices that no one else can get. Sometimes I buy collections out and I get them for, 80, 85, 90%, but not all the time. A lot of these I'm just buying straight off the market, straight in my local card shop, whatever, when I see a deal. I mean, I'm not finding these crazy deals under market and that's why I'm buying them. Nope. I just believe in them. I just see value there. I think the market's undervaluing them. I think the market's heating up. I think Sword and Shield's about to heat up. I think a lot of those sets are starting to heat up, like the Silver Tempest and the Brilliant Stars and all those. And I take all that information into account and I say, yep, I think that's a buy. I don't just look at the price and say, well, that card was going for $120 and now it's 140, therefore it's overvalued. What? Like, how do you come to that determination? Because the price, Alex, the price. It was cheaper and now it's more expensive, overvalued. And it's just like, it makes you shake your head like, what are we doing here, right? Like, and I think the reason is, and I get it, a lot of people in this hobby don't come from investing. Like, they don't come from traditional investing. They don't understand how to find value. And so all they're used to is just like collecting things and, you know, finding cheap prices and shopping around. And so they don't ever go through a lot of those like thought experiments in their head. They just kind of, you know, shop around for things they like and the shiny cardboard and the popular species. And they just say, okay, where am I going to buy it? Oh, this looks cheap right now. Okay, oh, that looks expensive. And it's like, okay, how do you come to determination on what's cheap and what's expensive? Well, I don't know. It just in my mind, I feel that way. You know, because like, it's just like looking at a penny stock or, you know, like a, you know, blue chip stock. And, you know, the blue chip stock's $100 a share and the penny stock's $1 a share. And you're like, well, that's really cheap. And it's just like, actually, if you dive into all their, you know, financials, that stock's actually overpriced. And the blue chip stock at $100, that seems underpriced compared to all their balance sheets and everything. And the same thing goes for Pokemon. People will look at a card and say, well, Alex, this is only $10. That's cheap. That card's $100. That's expensive. I don't think so. I could actually make an argument why a lot of these $10 cards are way overpriced for what they are. And, you know, the Pokemon that are on them, the hit rates they have, the sets they're in, all those things. And I can make an argument why the $100 card is actually underpriced based on all those scenarios. And so don't let your brain play tricks on you because of price point, right? Make sure you're collecting and investing because of value and the future value that you see because of real factors, not just some stuff you make up in your mind or some like, you know, get rich quick type lottery scenario. Like, oh man, I believe in it. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know what factors on why I believe in this card, but I am going to throw all my money into Garbodor. All of it into Garbodor. I just believe in it. It's just, I don't know. Like, don't do that. But when other factors all line up and you can say, okay, well, let's take the Brilliant Star Charizard because that's the one I got blown up for recently for pumping. And you look at it and you say, okay, let's think. Brilliant Star Charizard is, you know, it's an alt art, so it's extremely hard to hit. It's from a really good set in Sword and Shield. Brilliant Stars is almost $200 a box now. It's underpriced compared to most all of the other main, you know, Pokemon high hit alt arts. I'm looking at, you know, Scarlet Violet era, we got 151 more expensive than it. We've got Paldean Fates Charizard, I believe, still more expensive than it. We're looking back at Sun and Moon and XY, and all those Charizards are doing well. And you look at that, you say, taking all that into account, into account what it has been selling for before, what it's selling at now, what the alt arts are doing, what all the other sets are doing, the strength of the market, I think it makes sense to play right now. I think it's a low risk play. Though, like, that's kind of the ideas that I go through in my brain. I don't just kind of like spin a wheel and like, that one, Moonbreon's going to the moon today. You know, it's just like, I don't know, guys. I'm just trying to get my thoughts out in this video. I'm trying to get in the heads of like the Timmies out there and try to speak in terms that they would understand, because I know a lot of people go through this like mental, you know, gymnastics in their head whenever they're going to buy cards, and every time things move in price, they convince themselves on why it's expensive or why it's cheap solely on nothing but price point. And I think that's wrong, because I don't think a surging Sparks box in this market in 2024 being $120 is expensive. On the flip side, going back a year and a half, when Scarlet Violet base set came out, that seems expensive at $120 a box. And it has nothing to do with how strong the set is. It just has to do with, it was a different market. And all the boxes were being released and priced lower than that. And so it didn't make sense for the price point, right? And so now things have changed, and that price point makes a lot more sense because the demand and supply has now started to reach equilibrium, and now the demand is actually a little more than the supply. Where back then, there was way too much supply for the amount of demand, so that's why 120 didn't make sense. Now, I understand it's ran way past 120. The reason I use 120 is I saw the 120 mark, like the 700, 720 a case. That's where I saw a lot of the kind of people get heated up online. A lot of the conversation started on the Discords and a lot of the YouTube videos start. It was around that price point where a lot of people started to say it was overvalued and it was too expensive and things like that. And I don't think it was, right? Now, you could argue now, like coming out of the gate at 150, 160 seems crazy, and we've reached too much demand for the amount of supply, and I understand that. I'm not trying to like make this, big push for Surging Sparks and saying, hey, you should be buying it at 160. I personally think it's going to go to over $200, but that's me. All right, I'm not saying it's 100% going to happen, but I see that happening. But going forward, guys, don't limit yourself based on price point. Don't do it, right? If you see Surging Sparks get released and you have cards selling for $200 and $300, probably what they're worth. Probably what they're worth. Heck, Greninja's worth $300, right? Surging Sparks is going to have as hard or harder hit rates than that. It's a larger set. It's got more SIRs. The box is going to be way more expensive. The product's harder to find. There's less of it out there than there was before. Maybe these cards being higher price is going to make sense. Don't limit your mindset just because they're more expensive than the other sets were, right? Don't limit your mindset in the future with prismatic evolutions, right? Being, $50, $60 in ETB, saying that's too expensive, I can't buy it. Because then it'll run to $70, $80, $90, $100, and you'll be like, what did I do? What happened? Right? When Team Rocket comes out, don't limit your mind on that. Don't think that those boxes are going to be selling for $95, $100, $105, and if you can't find it at that, you're just going to say, screw it, I'm not going to buy any. Don't fall into that trap, guys. That's the biggest message I have for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not. Be back here in a new one soon. I'm out.